Hello, all. Welcome to the second session of Women Who Trade program by William O'Neill India and Market Smith India. So last week we discussed about the basics of stock market. What does the stock means? What is stock market? What are indexes? What is Nifty 50? And all those basic things. Right. So in this webinar, we will take a little more forward step by understanding how the trading happens, like what is the trade book, what are the type of trades, and all those things. Right. So this is a general disclaimer. So today, whatever we will be discussing, that is purely for the knowledge purpose. And if we take few example of any securities and so, then it's not an investment advice. It's just to understand the concept. So anything in this webinar should not be considered as a direct investment advice. So today's agenda. So first we will discuss about the type of trading, then type of trading account, what is order book, trade book. Then at last we will touch upon the derivatives, the F&O trading, and how the settlement process works at the end of the day, right? Okay, so let's start with the first thing, type of trading. Right. So when you start your trading journey, so first you should know that what type of trading are available and what do you want to do, right? So the first one is about the day trading. So what does a day trading is? It involves buying and selling a stock in a single day, just as the name suggests, right? Any individual like sometimes hold a stock for a few minutes or hours. Like there are a lot of traders who take position like at 9:17 in the morning, sold it at 9:25, that's it, right? So these are intraday traders, day trading, right? You may hold for a few minutes, few hours, like, but before the market close, you close your trade, like that is the day trading, right? The second one over here is scalping. Right. So now scalping involves gaining small profit repeatedly based on recurrent transaction in a single market session. So you take some small profit, book profit, then again take position. जैसे ही छोटा profit हुआ फिर से book कर लिया. So that is scalping, right? So there is not much difference in the scalping and day trading. They both are subset of intraday trading. So अगर broadly दोनों को बोलना है, if you want to broadly speak, the day trading as well as the scalping, that comes under the umbrella of intraday trading, right? But scalping is just a type of day trading that you can say, or the intraday trading. So in scalping, the holding period of security is shorter compared to day trading. Right. The holding period of security in this case is shorter compared to day trading. So the basic thing is over here they take small profit and close the position. Then again, the new position is taken maybe in the same stock or maybe in the different stock. Right. Okay. The next in the type of trading is swing trading. So first we discuss about the intraday one, right? That is the day trading, scalping, and now the swing trading. So swing trading aims to capitalize on short-term trends and patterns, right? So maybe around the earning season, like currently IT is in momentum, or due to some rise in the cement prices. I think last month cement stocks were in momentum, or auto stocks in momentum somewhere around the first week because of the auto numbers. So whenever a particular sector or a particular stock, the reason can be anything. It can be the news, like for example PSU banks, or some technical setups in particular sector, like pharma is going for a good technical setup now. So you take ideally 1, 2, or 5, 7 days of time, or maximum up to couple of weeks, right? So that is the swing trading. Ideally 1 to 7 days, right? You initiated the position today, and next week whenever the result comes, or ideally you should not trade before the result, that's a different thing. We will explain you in the next upcoming webinars. But whatever may be the reason, like due to the technicals or the news or the sector in momentum, if you are going for some 1 to 7 days of holding, then that is the swing trading. It requires a proper risk management and execution of trade. Like you should have a proper stop loss, that okay, if my loss is 2%, 3%, I will come out of that trade. And similarly, the profit booking, like 7%, 10%, 12%, I want to book that profit, right? So we have our product that is Swing Trading India. We particularly deal with these kind of short-term tradings, like 1 to 7 days, and some excellent return has been generated over there. The last one is the momentum trading, right? A trader here aims to benefit of the momentum of the stock, right? The investors look for stock that are either breaking out or will break out, right? Generally, some chart patterns, and some of you might be very new to the market, but some of you might know few things about the market, like trend line breakout. So if you are watching some news or reading some financial news, you might be knowing these kind of words, that the stock is breaking out from here, it retook its 50 DMA. So it's about the momentum trading. The sector is in momentum due to PLI news or some government incentives coming for the particular sector. So whenever these kind of things happen, and generally momentum trading is a bit, the number of days are higher than the swing trading, right? Okay. So these were the four type of trading. The first one, day trading, that you are, everything settles intraday. The second is scalping. It's a part of intraday trading, but here a small profits are taken, right, based on recurrent transaction in a single session. The next one was the swing trading, 1 to 7 days. Then the stock that are in a good swing. And the last one, momentum trading. A trader aims to get benefit of the momentum of the stock, right? Now, what are the type of trading accounts? The first one is the cash account, right? Here, investor have to pay the full amount to buy any security, and there is no borrowing. Say, for example, you have 5 lakh rupees and you are buying a share for that 5 lakh rupees, you are paying it, right? There is nothing from any broker side, there is nothing short, nothing is there. You have XYZ amount of money and you are paying it and buying that stock, right? It's just like going to a market. The apple costs rupees 100 a kg, you are paying 100 rupees and purchasing those apples, right? It's as simple as that. That is cash account. The second is the margin account. Over here, investor can borrow from the broker, right? This account provides opportunity to buy more security as compared to sold funding. So what happens over here? Your broker provides you the margin. Like say for example, you want to buy XYZ stock and you have 2 lakh rupees, but you want to buy it for some 5 lakh rupees. Then you take a margin from your broker and you need to settle it with your broker, right? So that's how the margin account works, that your broker helps you. So what happens over here, that you can buy more securities. If you have 1 lakh, you can buy securities worth of rupees 3 lakh also, right? Depending on the margin available for the different stocks. The third one is equity and derivative account. So if you are trading F&O, then you need to activate the F&O account, that is the derivative account. So if you have an active derivative, or you can say F&O account, then you can buy the futures and options, call, put, all those things. We will discuss what are call, put, and all those things in the coming slides in the same session, right? So these are basic three types of trading accounts: cash, margin, and F&O. Now next is trading account based on service provided, right? So these are the latest one, that discount broking account. So since last few years, due to the upgradation in the technology, the penetration of internet, and a very good lucrative brokerage, or you can say no brokerage for delivery from few of the discount brokers. So that has put discount brokerage into limelight, right? So what happens? So what is discount broking account? The trading account with the basic features without any add-on services, right? So here you just buy, sell your securities and nothing. There are no add-on services. right? You have your F&O permission, you take the position, you close the position, pay the money, that's it, right? Add-on services may include some research service or advisory service to the investor. So these type of like discount broking accounts involve trade with huge volume at very low cost, right? And generally, most of the discount broker do not charge anything for delivery, right? So if you are buying 100 Reliance, say for example, then you can buy it at the cost, right? There is no brokerage cost involved whenever it comes to discount broking. But there are no any other features, add-on features like research service, advisory, etc., right? And why they can offer a low brokerage is because of their lower operating cost, right? Because a single unit somewhere in the Bangalore or Mumbai or Hyderabad, and they can operate through that one unit throughout the India, right? But if you look at the traditional broker, that is the full service broking account, that is our second on the slide, then you might see that whichever city or area you are, there might be few brokers, right? Around your area or in the city. So they have their office, they have their infrastructure in each and every city. So that's a bit a costly model, but they generally provide a full service, right? The staff is over there. There is some live contact with those guys. So these account, the like full service broking account offers the type of services in addition to the basic execution of trade. Trade execution is the main thing, but they offer the add-on services also. Like you can seek financial advice from there, and they will help you for making your trading decisions. They will have their own research team, which will help you. One can use some integrated research tools. So most of the full service brokers have their own research tool. They have their the database about the different stock. You can analyze the stock. Charts are available. So everything is there, right? And these services are mostly chargeable. So now let's discuss few things about the order. So this comes under the basics of market. Like whenever you are buying or selling a stock, you give a order to your broker, right? So order is nothing but an instruction that I want to buy or I want to sell, or I want to buy at this price, I want to sell at this price, right? So there are many type of orders. So now let us discuss one by one. The most common, market order and limit order, right? So market order में क्या होता है कि a market order is an order to buy or sell a security at current market price, right? Once placed, this order is to be executed immediately, right? Okay, say for example, you told to buy Tata Steel. This is just an example at rupees 800, right, to your broker, or you are using an online broking service. Then you just put a buy order of 100 Tata Steel at 800 rupees, right? Sorry, at you just put a order to buy 100 Tata Steel at market price. So current market price may be 801. By the time your order is executed, it can be 801.5, it can be 800.5. So whatever price, you are not concerned with that 1 or 2 rupees movement, but you want to, you are sure to buy that stock at whatever 1 or 2 rupees variation, you get it, right? So that is called a market order. And market order mostly gets executed, right? Because you have not put a price that I okay मेरे को यही price पे चाहिए, I wanted that this particular price only. So you are very open for the price. So most of the cases, like 99.9% of the case, the order is executed immediately, right? If there are buyers and sellers. Yeah, in some cases, in extraordinary case where there is low liquidity, there are no sellers, or the stock is locked in the upper circuit. So those are few situations where your order might not get executed on an immediately basis, but it will get executed, right? Because it's a market order. So if you can see over here, it's just like you are going to buy apple or going to get a juice, that give me some juice, and it costs $5 or 50 rupees or 100 rupees. You pay it, you take it, right? But limit order is a bit different. Like you put a limit that, okay, I wanted this price. Say, for example, if you are going to a shop and you are saying that, okay, this cloth particular XYZ cost 1000, but I wanted it at 900. Will you give it or not? It's something like that. So if the merchant lowers the price to 900 and the deal is done, right? Otherwise, what happens if he says that no, I will give it 1000 rupees and you are sure to buy it at 900 only? Then that deal doesn't happen. That order is not executed. You leave the shop. The shopkeeper again keeps that cloth back to its place, right? It's as simple as that. So a limit order allows you to place an order in a security at a price you want, right? At a particular price that you want, the limit order is set. So a buy limit order means you are ready to buy the security at a specific XYZ price, right? Over here. And a sell limit order means you wish to sell the security at the limit price or higher. There is, however, no guarantee that this order will be executed, unlike market order, right? So if you are telling that I want to buy Tata Steel at 795, the current market price is 800 rupees. But if during the day your the stock that you want to buy doesn't comes at that particular price, that is 795, then the order will not get executed, right? So if you are very sure of buying a stock at a particular price or at a market price, then you should buy it. But if you think that I want to buy this stock only if it goes down from this part, from the current price at this particular price, if you want to buy this stock, then you should put a limit order, right? The stop order is like, if you, this is an order to buy or sell a stock whenever the stock price reaches a specific value, right? This is known as stock price. That beyond this price, you don't want to execute your trade. Okay, the next one, this one is very familiar, like margin intraday square off order. That is the MIS order. So as the name suggests, this is a intraday order, right? This means that each order needs to be square off during a single trading day only, right? It is a intraday trading, but you get a margin for this one. Like if you are buying, say, particular XYZ stock, then you have 50,000 in your account, then you can buy stock up to 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 4 lakh, whatever is the limit margin of that stock. So this is the margin intraday square off, right? As the name suggests. But the square off is done intraday, right? So this gives you an advantage of benefiting from the market fluctuation during the day. And you also get a leverage from your broker. So if you have a less money, you can buy more stock. Obviously, there is a risk involved in these kind of things, but this is just for the knowledge purpose, right? Because Warren Buffett, I think, once said on margin that if you are smart, you don't need it, and if you are dumb, you shouldn't be using it. But that is Warren Buffett's philosophy, right? But as a growth investor, you should always look for getting some leverage, and you should be confident on a particular stock. And if you get that leverage and the price increases, the return is superb, right? Because as a retail investor, you have a limited capital. So if you are a prudent trader, if you have good advisors backing you, then you should be very careful. You should understand these all things, that how margin works, what is the possible loss, what is the possible profit, and then you should work on these MIS type trading, right? Or the MIS order. And generally around 3:15, the trade gets automatically squared off or closed, even if you don't go to sell, or if you have sold it, then you don't go to buy it, right? तो 3 सवा 3 तक ये अपने आप settle हो जाता है trade, right? So this is MIS. The next one is the bracket order. So this is Nothing, very simple. The combination of the what all we have discussed, that the bracket order combines the benefits of multiple order placed simultaneously, allowing you to the fully automate a particular purchase or sale in a given security. Like if you are very sure about few things, that okay, I want to buy this at 100, I want to sell if the stock price goes to 130, I want to, sorry, I want to book profit at if it goes to 130, or cut loss if it is down to 990. Then you placed all the order, that is the bracket order, at a single time, right? And so it becomes a automated for you. So whenever the stock price is 1000, the trade will be executed. If it goes higher, then the profit will be booked. If it goes lower, then your stop loss will be hit and the order might be executed, right? So this is all about the bracket order. So next thing, whenever you are using a brokerage account or you are trading, you are investing, you should know about these two things, that is order book and trade book, right? Okay. So what is order book? Order book is the term used to describe a list of buy-sell orders from any security or financial instrument, right? So all the orders. So if you are placing to buy 50 Tata Steel at rupees 800, Tata Motors DVR at, say for example, rupees 130, 50 shares, you are selling for XYZ stock at this price. So all your orders that you placed to your broker online or to your traditional broker offline on call, right? So that are recorded. So that is the order book, right? And trade book is used to describe executed list of buy and sell orders. So whenever the order gets executed, right? First, whenever you place order, it goes to order book. Now, whenever it gets executed, it goes to your trade book, that okay, the particular XYZ stock is sold at this price, right? So that is the order book and trade book. See, in order book, a trader can check the status of their pending, rejected, or completed of an order. Plus, you can modify or cancel your pending order. Say, for example, if you put some limit order to buy Reliance at rupees 2000, right? Just an example, as I told you in disclaimer, that's not an investment advice. Okay, but if your the current price is 2040, say for example, now this will be reflecting in your order book that you have placed order to buy 100 Reliance at rupees 2000, right? And it will be showing as pending. So now you think that okay, Reliance won't come to 2000, but I will buy if it comes to 2020. Then what ideally you do, you change it in your order book that okay, now I am ready to buy at 2020, right? So that will be updated. So before your trade is executed, if your order is just in the order book, then you can make the changes or you can cancel the order. You thought that चलो आज नहीं लेना है रिलायंस, बाद में लेंगे या नहीं लेना है. So अगर order book में पड़ा होगा आपका order, if it is not executed, then you can cancel that pending order, right? Or you can see the status over that if it is pending, it is rejected sometime due to insufficient fund, due to margin issue, it may get rejected, right? Because you have put some quantity which is not in the range of your margin or in the range of the fund that you have, then it may get rejected or due to some other reason. And if it is completed, then the status will show that it is complete. So all the complete orders you will see over here in the trade book, right? So every time an order is placed, all order detail, including price and quantity, are recorded in order book, right? So every detail is recorded in your order book. But when it comes to a trade book, for every executed trade, the number of assigned and the status of the execution is also included in the trade book, right? So order book is a reflection of all the orders that you have been placed. That's what we discussed. And trade book is the reflection of the trades that have been actually executed, right? So this is the what order book and trade book and the major difference between the both. Okay. So now let's move to the last part of today's session, that is about the F&O and derivatives. So what are derivatives, right? So in the world of finance, derivative is a type of financial product whose value is linked to a underlying asset, right? So whenever you are going for a derivative in a stock market, then the price is linked to a value of underlying asset. Say for example, if you are trading or doing derivative like F&O in TCS, right? Then the underlying asset is the one share of TCS, right? So that particular equity of TCS is the underlying asset. So underlying asset meaning in a derivative, or that is type of security, property or other asset that influence the value of derivative, right? For example, in an option giving one the right to buy stock in TCS, the underlying asset is the stock of TCS, right? So this is how derivative contract, right? So there are two major things in market, that is futures and options, right? And in option there are call option and put option, right? So we'll understand this one by one. Okay, so first let's look at the broader type of derivatives, right? So first one is the forward contract. So this is not generally the part of equity market. This is a private contract to buy or sell something, generally a commodity or goods. Say for example, the season of mango is coming, right? So if you think this Afus mango is a very good quality of from the particular XYZ place, and you put a forward contract that okay, I will buy 1000 kg of Afus mango at this particular price and this quality on 15th of April, right? Then that is a private contract with the person selling mango or having the mango farm, right, directly. So whatever may be the price at that point of time, say for example, there is some shortage of mango this time due to change in weather, right? Or then also you will get it at the determined price, like the XYZ price that has been fixed during the forward contract. And if that mango is a bit cheap than what you expected during the forward contract, then you have to execute the order at the same price that you had decided earlier, that is the higher price. But generally forward contracts are for the private contracts, right? So in market there are future contracts and option contract, right? So we'll understand these two later. And the last one is the swap contracts. So these are generally undertaken by big banks, right? The swap can be of interest rate swaps, like say for example, if you are taking a floating home loan, so thousands of people might be taking a floating home loan, but if the housing finance company or the banks wants to transfer the risk, then they can swap the interest rate with some other banks or the financial institutes or the central banks who are ready, or the other banks who are ready to take the risk of that fluctuating interest rate. Like if they think that interest rate might go up or down or whatever their analysis, according to it, they can enter into a swap contract, right? So these two are not generally for the layman, that is the forward and swap contract, specifically not for the market. So future contracts and option contracts are for the market, right? So futures are a bit very simple that, okay, let us understand it from this slide. Future trading, right? The stock or index futures are derivative instrument that derives their value from the value of underlying stock or index, right? The contracts have a specific size, fixed price, and a specific date. Once the contract is entered, it will have to be honored, right? Yeah, so this is important. The future contract or the future trading has to be honored, right, at a particular date. So let us look at some characteristics of future trading. First is the size of a contract. So in future trading, it's not like you buy a 1 share, 2 share, 50 share, right? There is a fixed lot that is called lot size. Okay, you might have heard this word, that what is the lot size, right? So LOT, lot size. So all stocks trading in future market have a different number of shares in each lot, right? Say for example, currently one lot of future contract of HDFC Bank is 550 shares. So you cannot buy less than this, right? And if you want to buy more than this, then it has to be in the multiple of this, right? Like if you are buying two lots, then you are buying 1,000, 1,100 share of HDFC Bank, right? So it has to be in this multiple. So the lot size is fixed and you need to buy in that multiple in the future trading, right? So now about the expiry. So all the stock future contract have a fixed maturity, right? The expiry happens on the last trading Thursday of this month. And for index like Bank Nifty or Nifty 50, every Thursday, right? Every Thursday there is a weekly expiry. And for all the stock general, there is a monthly expiry. But if there is a holiday on Thursday, then the expiry happens on Wednesday, right? But ideally, it's on the last working Thursday of the month, right? Sorry, last Thursday of the month. The stocks have three expiring contracts, right? That is the near month, middle month, and the far month. That is 1, 2, and 3 month of future trading you can do, right? So now the third point over here, that is the margin. So this is the advantage of the future trading. Like the margin required to trade stock future is very high to cover for mark to market losses, right? This is basically done to protect the interest of broker and exchanges. So like in future trading, you don't have to pay 100%, right? It's not something like cash. So there is a fixed margin over there in the future trading. Say for example, if you are buying one lot of HDFC Bank, then just a random example like 20% or 30% or whatever it is fixed by the exchanges and the broker. So you need to pay that margin. Like if you are buying a one lot of HDFC Bank, then you need to pay 1 lakh as a upfront margin, just for example, right? So this margin is basically to cover the mark to market losses, right? And that is in the interest of brokers and exchanges. Like if sometime market suddenly falls or so they need to cover your losses, right? So that is why you need to pay an upfront margin, and this contract has to be honored. That is one thing that you can trade it. Like if you bought a future contract today, you can sell it to someone this evening itself, right? At 3 you can sell it. In next minute you can sell it, right? So if there are buyers and sellers in the market, you can easily trade the future contracts, right? So that is why people always look for some high liquidity contract like Nifty Bank or HDFC Bank, Reliance. So there are many stock in F&O list, but in the few stocks you will see the number of contract traded are just 100, 200 during the day. So generally the traders don't go for those kind of trades, right? Because the liquidity is low. So if there is no liquidity, say for example, if you bought a future contract and then during the month no one is ready to buy it again from you at a particular price, then you need to execute it. जब भी लास्ट थर्सडे आएगा और जब भी एग्जीक्यूशन डेट होगा उसका, you need to execute at that particular date or day, right? The second is the option trading. So as the name suggests, here you have the option to buy or sell, right? So buying an option that gives you a right to buy the share is called a call option, right? Whereas buying an option that gives you right to sell the share is called as put option, right? So you have an option to buy or sell. Future contract, in future contract, it was compulsory that the trade will be executed, right? So whoever may be owing it at the last moment, the trade will be executed. But over here, it's not compulsory, right? It's not an obligation to buy or sell. But what you need to pay is that is premium, right? We need to pay the upfront premium, and you won't get a refund of this premium, right? So if you are paying a premium of say 20 rupees, 10 rupees, say for example, per share of HDFC Bank, and the lot size is 5500. Okay, and you are paying 10 rupees of premium to buy the, let's say, call option, because you think that the price of HDFC Bank might go higher from this particular price, right? So this 5500 rupees that you pay, that is the premium amount, and that is non-refundable, right? Even if your stock goes higher, then the settlement, you won't get return of this 5500. So that is the small amount of premium, right, that you are paying to buy the stock, and you are also not going into an obligation to buy or sell it, right? Similarly, if you are buying a put option of HDFC Bank for, let's say for example, of 10 rupees, then if the stock goes below 540, right, then your profit starts, क्योंकि 10 रुपया तो आपने प्रीमियम पे किया है ये ऑप्शन को खरीदने के लिए, तो जब भी स्टॉक 540 के नीचे जाएगा, your profit will start. Similarly, if you are buying, considering the price of 550, sorry, so if the price is 100, sorry, 1000, let's say for example, so if price goes to 980, right, and if you had paid 10 rupees as the premium, then your profit per stock is rupees 10, right, in case of put option. In case of call option, say for example, if price goes to 1050, then your profit per share is rupees 40, right, and the lot size is fixed, that is 550 for HDFC Bank, right? But sometimes it happens that you think that this stock will go higher, right? So what is advantage of this put option, these options put and call are that you bought just at a premium of 10 rupees. By paying 5500 to a broker, you bought one lot of HDFC Bank. If you go wrong, like if the HDFC Bank falls to 950, 900, then you are losing nothing. You are losing just that 10 rupees that you are paying. So इसमें loss आपको पता है कि loss fix है. Whenever you are buying the option, the loss is fixed. That is the premium that you paid, right? But profit is not fixed over here. So there are many people who regularly do this call and put option, not only for the trading purpose. There are some HNIs and some institutional investors, they do it for hedging also, right? So if you are having some long position of 50 crore or 100 crore, if you are holding it, and if you think there is some uncertainty in the market, like during the budget time or maybe due to COVID cases, then what you do, you are a long-term investor, you are fund, you are not selling your amount, everything. What you will do, you will pay some premium and hedge your positions, right? So these derivative options are also used for hedging. F&Os are also used for hedging, right? Okay, so last one, settlement procedure, and then we will close the session. So basically, there are three phases in a secondary market transaction. So in the first session, you had a good understanding about the primary market and the secondary market, right? Primary market is the IPO market, right? So over here, there are three phases in the secondary market. First is trading. जो अभी हमने सब कुछ समझा कि trading कैसे करेंगे, right? How the trading happens. So after that trades are executed, then it comes to clearing, right? So there are, I think, 6 to 7 different clearing houses in India for commodity, for equity, right? So those clearing houses, along with the help of your broker, bank, your trade book, they do the clearing, right, about the money. And then at last, there is the settlement. There is this final settlement of trade, that like you bought 100 shares, you paid the money, and you finally get that share, and the person who sold the money, that person gets his money, right? Who sold the share gets the money, who bought the share gets this shares. That is the settlement, right? So sorry, once two orders match and trade is executed, the clearing process takes place, right? Clearing is the identification of what security is owned to the buyers and how much money is owed to the sellers. The entire process is managed by the clearing houses, right? So these are independent entities. So once the buyer receives the security and the seller receives the payment, the transaction is settled, right? So the entire process of a particular trade is completed when your trade is settled. Okay. So this is just one image from NSE that how basic things works. This is how their technology works. That order book and trading, right? Then there is a risk management. जो हम margin की बात कर रहे थे, like how to manage margins, right? So that is done through risk management. Then after that it goes to clearing and settlement, right? So for clearing and settlement, there are clearing banks, there are custodians who hold the securities, and there are depositories, right? That is, depositories are NSDL, CDSL. So these all are depositories where your shares are preserved, right? It's just like a bank of your shares, right? So this is how clearing happens, and then there is a data warehousing where all the data are stored, and then there is a surveillance. Then it goes to surveillance, and if you look at this order book and trading, so there is some member data, right? There are regulators involved, data vendors involved, and this is how the internet connectivity works, right? So recently there was a technical glitch. So the NSE has told that it was due to this some issue with the lease line data sharing, all those things. So this is basically how the entire trading process works to the settlement, right? So this was all about the part 2 for today. So now if you have some basic questions, then we will take it, and then we can close this session. And in the next week, we'll meet again with the part 3 of the basis of stock market. Yes, so we will try, if it's possible, then as Hemal told, we will try to take a session if possible on a live trading. So if you have any other question or queries, yes, this is one is about put option. That is clear that yes, put option can be bought as well as sold, but everything was not included in slide because this was just a beginner's explanation. So this was not a specific detailed explanation. So those who are dealing in put and call option, they might be finding this as a bit beginner, but yes, you can buy the put option also, right? And so now if you have any questions after the session, you can always write us or drop a question on a mail, marketsmithindia@williamonelindia.com. So thank you for attending today's session. So we will meet again next week. The link will be shared with you guys. Thank you.